I'm going to switch to Enrique. You've seen this planning process from beginning to end. You were there at all the meetings. What have you seen? What is your perspective as both, of course, in your role as a representative, but also as a Rosendale resident?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. I have very much been in the weeds of squares and streets from the very beginning. And
Yes.
I actually live right on Cohasset Street, so right off the square. So I've been really envisioning how might this, impact me as a resident, impact the square, how the square is going to potentially look like in the future. And for me, this has been in a way exciting because when I was running for office, I always envisioned that if we are going to develop in our neighborhood, it's going to be where it makes sense. And when I say that, I envision the squares. I envision places where the local businesses are, where the local transportations are, where people are already congregating. And it excites me the fact that we are now being more proactive with improving the zoning in the city because I actually grew up in a triple decker, and I love the stories of triple deckers because a lot of folks view the triple decker as like the ideal Boston home in Dorchester, in Hyde Park, and JP and Rossi. But what people don't know is that they're not legally zoned anymore. And if you actually wanted to build one, you have to go through a lot of hurdles. Um, and for me, now as a city councilor, I see a lot of projects that could have taken place, but they didn't. Or some of them have been approved and they were stalled. And like to use some examples, I like to think about, I've spoken about this before. You have Joe Portalecki's Ace Hardware store. His project was approved. He went through the process and everything. However, after some time because of the prices of materials and everything that went up, he wasn't able to do it. After further conversation with him and his family, they're still very interested in still doing it, but going through that hurdle again is probably going to hurt them even more. So being able to upgrade that zone so that they can just do it as is, I know that they're going to be able to have a much easier process. I'm actually seeing it right now with another developer. I'm not even going to call him a developer. He's a local business owner. He owns Moreno Auto Body on Washington Street, and he's doing right now 4160 Washington Street. And the process that he had to go through for the ZBA and the planning department, it was a lot. It was extensive, and to the point where he's still having conversations and design review with the planning department. But I know that this has cost him an extra, like they say, an arm and a leg, where if the zoning were upgraded, this wouldn't have happened.